Hey everybody, Raven Knight here. Thank you for tuning in. I promise I'll make this as quick as possible, but I wanted to make this video before I start doing the execution graded series. So for those who don't know, I released a poll just the other day letting you guys know that me and Lark are going to be taking a family vacation for a little while, and before we go, we've got a little bit of time. There are a few projects I'd like to try to get done before we head out, and I was asking you guys, what would y'all like to see most? What would y'all like to see me do? Because I might not be able to do all of them, and so far the winning score goes to returning to the For Honor execution grading, and we're going to start with Warden. Now, I want to make a few things clear before we actually start the series, because there's a lot of air I want to clear first. And the first big one is the people who are telling me, Raven, you've already done this. In your For Honor analysis series, you always ended each video by grading their unique executions. You've already done this, why are you doing it again? And here's the reason. When I did those, I was very new to content creation, I was new to For Honor, I was new to figuring out how I wanted to grade them. A lot of my grading came down to subjectivity, and I was not consistent, I didn't make any clear-cut rules, and so I want to fix that this time. Now that I've had more experience as a content creator, I know better how to do these things, I'm going to apply my teaching and grading skills to these executions. I'm going to try my hardest to be objective, and I'm going to set up some clear-cut rules to how I grade them. That way I'm fair, I'm objective, and we can all agree. Well, we may not all agree on the grades that they get because of your own personal preference, but at least I know that I gave them my absolute best and I was fair in all categories. So with that in mind, that's why I'm returning to this, because I want to do better than I was before. I'm big enough to admit when I make mistakes. I made some mistakes when I did it prior, so now I'd like to come back and try again. Okay? All right, that's the whole reason. The second thing that I want to do is I want to share with you guys what I created for this execution grading system. Have a look. This is my For Honor execution graded rubric. That's right, I dipped into my teaching roots and created a specific rubric for grading each and every execution. It's on a 4-point system. That means the most you can read, that means that there are 4 categories you have to meet, and each category has a scale of 4. That means the most you can meet in each category is 4. That means that the highest score you can possibly get is 4 in all 4 categories, which means you can get a score of 16. So that would be a 100. After that would be a score of 15 out of 16, which I think would be a 90 something, and then down the list from there. You see what I mean? So by that logic, I want to be able to use this rubric as an objective way of grading each execution. Here are the 4 categories, and I'm going to explain each one very briefly. First of all, lethality. Lethality is the first one. It has to kill. Now, I get this a lot, okay? I get this a lot in every single graded video. Raven, the character's dead. They just fought a really difficult battle and they're dead. The execution is just fluff. It's just the cherry on top. So we have to assume that they're already gonna die, so why are you grading based on lethality? I'm gonna tell you why. Because if you don't execute the person, they have the potential to be revived. They can be picked up, which means that they are just simply incapacitated, not dead. That's the way I've always looked at it. In fact, in the orders, if you look at an order, it asks you to get takedowns. They make a very specific difference between a takedown and an execution. Okay? So the way I've always seen it is a takedown means that you've incapacitated them, you've knocked them down, they're not getting back up without help or without a respawn. With an execution, they can't get up until they respawn. So the way I see it, I have to grade executions based on lethality. These have to kill, because unless they kill, I don't count it as deadly. See what I mean? That's why I'm doing that. If you disagree, you're free to disagree, but this is the way I'm grading it. So to get a 4 in lethality, the execution must be lethal. It must kill, no questions asked. For a 3, it's likely to kill. It would probably kill, but it might take time, or there's a chance they could survive, a slim one, but a chance. With a 2, the execution could kill, but it's uncertain. There's doubt there. And for a 1, it's unlikely to kill, or there's no way it would kill. Like, I look at it and I go, this probably is not lethal. Next one is realism. A lot of people have told me, Raven, no one cares about realism in this game. Yeah, well, that's objectively false, because I care about realism. We're taking realistic historical warriors and putting them in a fantasy setting, true, but they're still using realistic weapons and armor and skills and all that kind of stuff. Now, I will grant you this. I will not count armor capabilities here. The game has made it clear that they don't care about how metal plate mail armor works. They don't care about how protective armor would actually be. Okay, they've made that very clear. So I'm not going to sit here and go, oh, it went right through plate mail armor. That's unrealistic. I'm not going to do that. But I have to believe that this move is possible, as in no supernatural aid. They're not doing anything that a normal human probably couldn't do. It looks like something that could actually happen. Like, that's a 4 to me. This is an execution where there's no supernatural outside help. There's no overcomplication. This could happen. Realistically, physically, literally, this is something that could happen. To get a 3 in realism, the execution is mostly real, maybe with minor supernatural influence or power, but it could still possibly happen. For a 2, the execution is partly done with supernatural aid or assistance. It's not quite believable, but it's not impossible. And 1, this is an impossible thing to do. If I give your realism a 1, that means it's impossible to do. It could not be done without the help of supernatural aid. Sorry. For the cool factor, that's the third one, cool factor. I gotta admit, this is going to be a little subjective. I'm going to try to talk to other people, especially Lark and some others, about these executions that I could give the cool factor to. Because to get a 4 in cool factor, it has to be very impressive. It's got to wow me. It's got to be one that I go, oh yeah, that's good. That's a really good one. That looked really awesome to watch. A 3 means that it's impressive. It's cool. It's just not incredible. It's not one that I'm like, oh man, that's so awesome. It's just a good one. For a 2, it's on par. It's okay. There's nothing inherently wrong. It's all right. It's just kind of one of those where I go, okay. For a 1, the execution bores me. It's one that I go, really? What? That is not cool. That is not cool at all. All right, so, and then the final one, the 4th one, is efficiency. Now, efficiency, I think, is very important. It's actually the one that I see a lot of other content creators talk about. I think Mark Oyolo based a lot of his execution grading based on how quickly one could get the kill. And I think that is important, but I'm going to look at efficiency a little differently. For efficiency, I consider the skill of the warrior. These are warriors, not savages. I want to see them use actual skill in their fighting. I want to see them use training, skill, precision. I don't want them to just flail around like idiots. I want to actually see some real training and skill come forward in their fighting, and I also want to see this treated as a real war scenario. I've said it before and I've said it again. We have to assume that these warriors are fighting in an actual battlefield scenario, an actual war, okay? So because of that, I want to make sure that the way they fight is indicative of that. That means they need to get the kill done and move on because they've got allies to help and they've got other enemies to worry about. You can't spend too long on an execution being flashy. You can't spend too long just standing there looking cool. You got to get in, get done, move on. You can't just be like, oh, well, let's take some time to look cool. Let's showboat a little bit. No, you've got to get in and get done. So a 4 for this means that they were speedy, they showed skill, the opponent is dead, and they make a quick transition from that kill on to moving on. Very little likelihood of interruption. To get a 3, there's some speed, some skill, the opponent is dead, and the transition is there, but it's slow and might be interrupted. To get a 2, the execution shows little speed and skill, it mostly shows showboating, and the opponent may die, but the transition is sloppy, and interruption is very unlikely. To get a 1 in efficiency, that means that the execution would not be useful at all in a real battlefield setting. It's slow, it demonstrates little skill, and it could be easily interrupted. And if you disarm yourself, I know that I brought this up in my other videos, and I'm bringing it up again here. If you disarm yourself, if you drop your weapon for whatever reason, I'm giving you a 1, okay? I don't care how cool it looks after that. I'm giving it a 1 in efficiency. Why? Because if this is a war scenario and you drop your weapon, if you get interrupted or knocked aside by an enemy, you have now let go of your weapon, you're now in big trouble. So that's essentially what it comes down to for me. Efficiency is all about, did you treat it like a real war scenario? Were you being quick? Were you being decisive? Were you being efficient? So those are the 4 criteria by which I will grade it. I'm going to be as fair, I'm going to be as objective, and I'm going to be as concise as I possibly can be. I appreciate you guys for your understanding. I know that you guys will have your own opinions on each execution, and I don't mind you sharing them with me. I genuinely don't. But the reason I release this video is so that I can set the record straight early on about how I'm going to approach this, so that way no one can come and say, why are you doing it this way? This is the wrong way to look at executions. No one cares about this. They're all lethal. No one cares about realism. I think this one's super cool. Okay, I understand your positions, but I want y'all to understand where I'm coming from. I want you to understand how I'm grading these, because if I'm going to grade them, I'm going to be as dutiful and objective as I possibly can be. Will there be some discrepancy? Absolutely. Will there be moments where I definitely have my subjective point come in for the cool factor? Certainly. But other than that, I'm going to be as fair as possible. And then after I've graded all the executions of each hero, this is the big part, I'm going to get an average. I'm going to take the grade, all the grades that I got, and average them out and give you a full average grade for each hero's executions overall. So for example, if I take Warden and I go through all the grades, I'm going to average them out and give you a full grade for Warden's executions as a whole. And I think that'll be a cool way to give each hero their average. At least I think that'll be neat. And I look forward to seeing what you guys think. I look forward to you guys joining me on this little trip and this little series that I'm going to start. It's going to be a lot of fun. Now, the obvious question that's going to come up is what happens when new executions are added? Will you add those to the mix? I'll still just do little side videos on those, okay? I'm going to do little side videos on those too. Just try not to go too far, too crazy into this, okay? But with that all out of the way, I hope you guys appreciate this video. I thank you for sticking with me on it, and now we know the rules. So let's get ready. Warden, you're up first. I look forward to getting their video done. Until then, this is Raven, and I will see you in my next video. Take care.